Alright, hello. Alright, I'm going to do a quick video on the ego. You probably saw the title of the thing. That might have sucked a few people in. Your ego is not broken, but you are an addict. There's a lot of people there's a lot of this new age stuff going on, like going on about people with egos that aren't right, and you've got to do the self work and all this stuff to sort yourself out. Well, I'm here to say that your willpower alone probably isn't going to be, unless you're a lucky one, your willpower alone is probably not going to be enough to change who you are. And let me tell you this as well. I don't think who you are is the problem. I don't think that is necessarily the problem. It kind of is the problem, but it's only a problem because something else is broken. And I'm going to tell you what else is broken here in a second, right? It's not you that's broken, right? Probably not. So, in order to be able to fix something, a lot of these new age people don't really go on about, well, where does all this stuff come from? Where does the ego come from? Because if you don't know what it is, how are you going to fix it? It's like taking a pair of chopsticks and trying to fix a bloody car with it. That probably isn't going to work. You've got to know what you're dealing with first, and then you got to know what the right tool is, or what the right the right way to fix it is. Okay, if you don't know what you're dealing with, how are you going to fix it? That's the first problem, right? So, what is the ego? And this is just my view of what the ego is, because you'll listen to people and they'll say, well, the ego is that thing that when people want more all the time, and they've always got to be right, and then they've got to one up people all the time, or I'm better than you all the time. That kind of thing is the uncontrolled ego, the out of control ego that people go on about. But I'm going to tell you right now, right, what I think the ego is. The ego is, it's you, yeah? And people go on about, well, it's your self-image, and, when your self-image is not quite right, blah, 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 blah. And then people will go on about, well, that's not really who you are. You're not really that body, you're a higher power than that. And you start hearing all the waffle, right? First thing I'm here to say is that you are an individual in a body for a reason, right? It's not to be, I'm not trying to be flippant, but, yes, we are all spiritual beings and all that jazz as well, but you're here to have an individual experience. How are you going to create an individual experience? Well, you've got to be put in an individual sort of capsule. This body, the ghost that is in this shell, okay, that's what's having the experience. So, what I think is, you think about this, if I was to say that this body is a filter of sorts, right? And what it's doing is it's perceiving reality different from somebody else, because it's slightly different genetics, etc. Unless you're a twin, and even then, twins are experiencing a slightly different reality because they're separate in space, so they're having different interactions with the reality. So what you've got is you've got the body filtering the reality back to itself, right? And so that's what generates this sort of self-spiritual identity, the self-identity. The ego, the body, is what forms, this filter here is what forms your initial sort of memories of what's good and what is needed in life to survive. This is what's driving the body, and it's already pre-hardwired. And you are an addict. I hate to say it, you are addicted. Well, there's some people shouting now, well, I'm not addicted to anything. You are addicted to life. Right? You want to live, right? So you're addicted to anything that gives you a positive physical feedback. You do something physical, the body does something physical, it gets a positive physical feedback, what you perceive as positive anyway, the body does, and it propels you in one direction towards survival, right? Being better at surviving. That's what the body wants to where it wants to go. It wants to avoid death on the other side. So there's a fear factor here of dying, and it wants to go towards survival. There's a desire factor there, right? So that's what the body wants to do. It just goes in one direction. That's what the body does. That's what it's programmed to do. That's what you're programmed to do. This is why your ego really isn't broken, because the ego comes from the body. Those initial physical responses that you have. Then you generate a memory on that and say, well, that was a good thing, I'll do that again. And, oh, I like doing that, I'll do that again. All those things that you like and want to do are all coupled to responses that are driven by just survival, at a root level, okay? And it's hardwired into you. You can't change that, okay? The body goes in one direction. So you need something to counteract that, right? And what God did is he created this thing called nature, right? And that counteracts the body perfectly. It slows the body down. So it moderates the ego, your self-image, all the wants and desires of the body. It's all at the core, it's all the same thing, right? You've just added more layers on, right? But at the core, it's the same thing. And nature balances that. Now, the problem that we have today, so there's nothing really wrong with the ego, is what I'm saying. It's designed to do that. The body's designed to do that. And nature's designed to counteract that. Well, what the problem is we've removed ourselves from nature. And we've created our own reality, and there's no, there's nothing stopping that. In fact, this reality feeds this thing. It feeds all those desires. So this thing just accelerates off like a bloody bullet towards temptation, all the things it wants. Okay? That's the reality, that's the matrix we've created. The very thing, the very out of balance ego or body, the needs of the body, those very things are what creates the reality. And this thing's here says, the body says, well, these are the things that I need and want. This is the reality then that I'm going to create. It's going to supply all those needs and wants. You see what I'm saying? So we've almost got like a positive feedback loop here. I mean, this thing is generating the very thing that feeds it. You're feeding the monster all the time by generating all this stuff. We are, all the mod cons, all the excess food, all the, all the other paraphernalia that go along with what we've created here. All the temptation and desires that we have are all being provided for us, by this very same thing, by the out of control egos that we have. Well, there's nothing really wrong with the ego. It's doing exactly what it's programmed to do. The problem is we've removed it from the system that it was supposed to be in. So the problem is the system that it's in, not the actual functioning up here, but the system that it's in. So, like any addict, the best way to get off or to stop the addiction is to simply remove all that temptation. That's the only real way you can do it. Because the problem is, you're an addict, right? Going this way, yeah? You're addicted to stuff. You want more stuff, right? What's driving that addiction is the very will to live. It is a super, super, super strong force. Okay? That is what is driving those addictions, right? So what you've got to try and do, this is what the New Agers want you to do, is they want you to use willpower to try and overcome something that is super strong. And it's switched on 24/7, right? And, willpower is one of those things that just fades during the day. as you get tireder, your willpower just, it just drains from you, all the things you've got to deal with all the time, So it's impossible. It's almost impossible, unless you're one of those people blessed with a ton of willpower. There are people out there, or unless you've got a very low desire for things, a low temptation rate, and there'll be people out there that have low temptation to things as well. Those people may be the more blessed people. I've got a funny feeling though that everything balances out, between everybody. So here's your problem. You have to remove temptation. You've got to remove that stuff, because seeing it and wanting to go towards it, when you can see it, you're like, I'll just reach out and take it. When it's not there to you can't reach out and take it, then you're not cured, but you're halfway there. And when you remove things, right, and as those memories fade, initially it's very difficult, but as those memories fade, of course, it's much easier. So essentially, to fix the ego, which really isn't broken, what you really got to do is go to Alcoholics Anonymous or something and talk to those guys. That's basically the way you've got to do it. You've just got to remove those things, The analogy is, you are the racehorse, right? And the reality we've created, the Matrix, is the jockey. All those elites, people running the world, that's the jockey, right? And they've got a fishing rod with a carrot dangling in front of you, saying, come on, get the carrot, get the carrot. And at the same time, they're whipping you on the arse with the whip, saying, come on, get a move on, get what, So they're giving you the thing that you desire, and they're feeding you with the fear of the whip at the same time. And that's what's going on. You're running at 100 miles an hour down the flat, right? Now, what we need to do, okay, is we need to at least bring some kind of nature back into our lives. And it's like running the steeplechase now, If you bring in some obstacles, some hurdles to go over, some fences to jump, it slows the horse down, and occasionally it throws the jockey off as well, which is quite fun. But that's what we need, We need to be running a steeplechase and have those fences there, those hurdles there, to slow down this bloody straight sprint, Because here's another problem, right? Is if you look at the way nature runs, everything runs in a cycle, yeah? Everything runs in a cycle. Which means that if death is here and survival is here, and you head towards survival, those two things are actually connected in a loop, right? And you'll find this, right? The faster you run towards those temptations, the more you feed the temptations, yeah, the sooner you're going to die, because you're curving back on yourself. You're curving back to the end point faster if left unchecked. What nature does is it slows you down on that path back on yourself, and it just gives you exactly what you need when you need it. That's what nature does. Okay, it regulates the wants and needs of the body, and the wants and needs of the body is the foundation of the ego, of the self-image. I hope that makes sense. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. I don't know what I've forgotten on there. There's no point in going back over it. If you didn't understand something, just replay the video. But that's it in a nutshell. You are an addict, and that's the way you were designed. We're all designed to be addicts. And those addictions at some point are to do with survival. It's just the way we're programmed. That's what forms the ego, the self-image, the self-spirit. All right, and that self-spirit is not necessarily the thing that's broken. It's just growing the way it was designed to grow. Okay, There's actually nothing wrong with its function. The problem is it's been removed from the environment that it was supposed to function in. So the problem is the environment that we're in. It's the surroundings. Okay? So we need to return back to a closer form of the original surroundings that we were meant to be in. We need to return back to nature. And that will solve your problems. So it boils down to just physically removing those temptations out of your life, to the point at which, because the body's lazy and it don't want to go 30 miles to go and get a Snickers bar, if it's not there. But when it's right there for the taking, it will take it every time. That's just what it does. That's what it's designed to do. If it doesn't take it, there's something, you've either got immense willpower or there's something wrong with you. All right. Anyway, yeah, the place where the temptation is the hell, when you shouldn't be having something, yet it's there for the taking. That's the living hell right there, That's the thing that really sucks, Anyway, hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, bye.